The winter wind in Silveridge bit into Elena's skin as she locked the diner door. She gripped her thin coat, her knuckles white against the freezing metal. Inside her pocket, the meager cash from Marcus felt like a mockery of her 12-hour shift. She walked to the basement apartment where Mr. Henderson stood blocking the entrance. He pointed to his watch, his breath fogging in the air. Elena pulled the rent money from her pocket, watched him snatch it, and stepped into the damp, dark room. The pipes rattled. She sat on the edge of her mattress, her hands trembling. She stared at the peeling wallpaper and saw her reflection in a shard of glass. She dropped the glass, stood up, and shoved her few belongings into a bag. The next morning, she pushed open the heavy doors of the Silveridge Public Library. Clara sat at a desk, surrounded by stacks of paper. She looked up, her gaze locking onto Elena. Elena pointed to a scholarship flyer on the wall. Clara pulled a chair out and tapped the seat. For 2 weeks, they sat in that corner. Elena typed until her fingers ached, turning her nights of hunger into words on a page. She was no longer just surviving. She was building a way out of the shadows. At the diner, Marcus slammed his hand on the counter when Elena dropped a tray. Julian stepped between them, his apron hitting the floor. He glared at Marcus, his voice low and sharp. Marcus retreated to the back office. Elena submitted her application that night. The acceptance letter arrived in a crisp white envelope, a ticket to a world she had only dreamed of. 2 years passed in a blur of library lights and cold coffee. Sophia stood in the hallway, laughing at Elena's worn-out laptop. But Elena didn't look up. She kept typing, her eyes fixed on her screen. On graduation day, she held her diploma high, while Sophia looked away. Now, Elena stood in Arthur Vance's boardroom, her suit pressed and sharp. She slid her business plan across the mahogany table. Vance flipped the pages, his face unreadable. Elena leaned forward, her hands flat on the table. She spoke of logistics, fair wages, and the supply chain. She wasn't asking for a favor. She was offering a revolution. Vance stopped flipping. He looked up, his eyes narrowing. Elena held his stare, her chin high. She didn't blink. Slowly, Vance stood, extended his hand, and nodded. 5 years later, Elena stood in a glass-walled office, looking down at the city skyline. Below, construction cranes worked on the new housing complex where the old trailer park had once been. This was her vision come to life. Julian knocked on the door and entered with a stack of reports, followed by Clara, whose eyes were bright with pride. Elena turned from the window, smoothed her jacket, and walked toward them. She had finally built a world where no one was invisible and no one would be left in the cold again.